So what was Johnny Worthington's fate after Monsters University? I mean, in college, he was the top scarer at MU. He served as the president of Roar Omega Roar and won the scare games every year he was at Monsters University. Later in Monsters at Work, we learned he inherited his family's company FearCo, married Claire Wheeler, the president of the Greek Council, and had 2 children. Johnny was a wealthy CEO with influence across Monstropolis and had a beautiful family that loved him. His future seemed bright, but he allowed it to all come crashing down when he became a criminal. In fact, he was eventually arrested by the authorities, convicted of fraud, and was sent to prison. But why did this happen? Why did he allow his dream life to fall apart? How did Johnny Worthington go from a top student and a beloved community member to a convicted criminal? Well, by going through everything we learned about his future from Monsters at Work, I have the answer. But before I dive into the Monster World's energy business, first I need to let you know about the Human World's telecom business because of today's sponsor, Mint Mobile. You see, while Monsters Incorporated redefined scaring with their door technology and superior energy refinement, Mint has helped reimagine wireless. By being an all-online wireless provider, they can offer the amenities of big wireless companies without all the inconveniences and costs. With Mint, you can get coverage on the nation's largest 5G network, unlimited talk and text, and a variety of data options to fit your needs. You don't have to pay for services you don't need or want, and Mint even makes it easy for you to save on your phone bill as soon as today. Instead of requiring you to travel to physical stores, Mint offers a completely digital experience so that you can sign up and activate a wireless plan at home. Plus, with today's eSIM technology, it's never been easier to switch wireless providers because you don't even need a physical SIM card sent to you in the mail. If you already have an unlocked phone you're happy with, in a matter of minutes, your phone could be switched over to Mint. But if you need an upgrade, Mint has you covered too. So all that to say, there's no need to overpay for wireless anymore. With Mint's premium plan starting at just $15 a month, there's a better way forward. If you want to save on your phone plan, consider scanning the QR code on screen or going to my link below to switch to Mint Mobile today. Now, Johnny Worthington's undoing all began because of the choices he made throughout the energy crisis. You see, prior to Laugh Power, all scream collecting firms in the monster world were suffering. There were scream shortages at the Worthington family's company FearCo as much as there were for Monsters Incorporated. With human children becoming desensitized and the monster world's increasing demand for power, the scream producers were just unable to keep up. And even after Mike and Sully discovered a new energy source that was 10 times more powerful than screams, Johnny Worthington refused to adapt his family's company FearCo to Laugh Power. And the truth is, that was a common decision by the rest of the scream producers. Like Scaremasters and Scream Industries joined FearCo in their opposition to the rise of monster comedians. Their rationale was that they were remaining committed to the proud tradition of scaring. I mean, someone like Johnny couldn't imagine his company without scaring. He came from a long line of scarers, was raised by a scaring prodigy, and was expected to run the family business based on fear like it had been for over 100 years. Thus, regardless of the science that proved laughter's superiority to screams or the demonstrations that showcased its power, he refused to change. For Johnny and the rest of the scaring industry, they believed it was a monster's nature to be scary, and they viewed monsters who became jokesters as a waste. Now, Johnny wasn't willing to be as vocal in public as other CEOs of his disdain for Laugh Power, but he agreed with the common sentiment that producing laughs was an affront to who they were as monsters. What Johnny Worthington was willing to share with the world, though, was his distrust towards Laugh Power. He would acknowledge its existence, but he often made unfounded claims that laughter would not prove to be a reliable source of energy. Unfortunately for FearCo, though, every time the Monstropolis Energy Regulatory Commission investigated Monsters Inc. and threatened to sign over the city's contracts to FearCo, Mike, Sully, and the rest of the team at MI proved that Laugh Power was the future. And even Johnny came to accept that. He was not ignorant of the facts around him. As much as he wished he could dismiss Monsters Inc.'s revolutionary new energy, he accepted that it was a problem for his company. But instead of adapting to the times, Johnny Worthington decided to attempt to preserve his family's legacy by taking back control of the energy production industry. If Scream Energy couldn't win on its own, he determined that he needed to kill Laugh Power. To make that happen, Johnny decided to partner with Randall Boggs, not only because of their time together as brothers in Roar Omega Roar, but also because Randall had already proven himself as a monster who was willing to go to any length to consolidate power in the energy industry. And here was Johnny's plan. You see, Johnny decided to take down Monsters Inc. from 2 fronts. Publicly, Johnny undermined Laugh Power by claiming to be concerned about its reliability and safety. To protect his image as a simple, concerned citizen, he even went so far as to claim he would be willing to cooperate with Monsters Inc., suggesting to Sully that they should come together to form an energy roundtable. But all of this was just show. In fact, in the background, Randall was using door stations at FearCo to enter Monsters Inc. to steal their energy. This not only allowed FearCo to inflate their energy output, but it also undercut the stability and effectiveness of Laugh Power. Operating in this way ensured Johnny could maintain the public's trust as he turned them against Laugh Power while he actively conspired against Monsters Incorporated. And the truth is that it was a fairly easy task to turn monsters against laughter. For most monsters, they viewed Laugh Power as an alternative power source that was as ridiculous as spin energy, Burpaline, or fart tech, which were all featured energy sources at the Convention for Resourceful Energy Efficiency and Power, better known as the Creep Show. Laughter seemed like another harebrained scheme that would never actually power their world. But Johnny didn't just want Laugh Power to be extinguished, he wanted to reposition Scream Power as being the superior energy source. To make that happen, Johnny announced to investors and the public that FearCo had invented the solution to keep Scare Power on top. Using their new Scream amplifier, Johnny stated that his company had discovered a way to make screams more powerful than laughs. He even claimed that once the device was online, it would help produce more power than their world would ever need. But of course, that was all a lie. And you want to know who helped expose him? It was Chet Alexander. You see, after graduating from Monsters University, Chet the Claw Alexander became a scarer at FearCo, but unfortunately, working under Johnny Worthington did not lead him to a successful career. And that was because Johnny ended up being an exploitative and abusive boss. Johnny would blatantly ignore and exclude Chet. He'd make fun of Chet for wetting the bed at MU, and he'd intentionally suppress his wages. And on top of all of that, Johnny would even force Chet off the scare floor to make him his personal assistant. But what Johnny never expected was that Chet would find justice. You see, once the Monstropolis Energy Regulatory Commission began to question the claims that the great Johnny Worthington was providing to investors and the public about FearCo, they approached Chet to be their informant on the inside. And who would have guessed it? He agreed. Chet provided information on the fraud going on within the company for months, and eventually that undercover work would expose the truth to the world. See, on the day Johnny was supposed to activate his Scream amplifier, which would finally put Monsters Incorporated out of business, loyal members of the Monsters Inc. facilities team revealed he was lying. They shared with the world that the Scream amplifier didn't exist, FearCo hadn't invented a way to make screams more powerful than laughs, and that the company was actually running off of stolen laugh power from Monsters Inc. In the fallout of this news, the great Johnny Worthington III was arrested, and soon after, with the help of the evidence provided by Chet Alexander, Tyler Tuskman, and Val Little, he'd be convicted of his crimes and sent to prison. And he'd even end up in the same cell as Henry J. Waternoose. So the truth is that Johnny Worthington III became a criminal. He was perceived as a family man, he was seen as an innovative business executive, and was viewed as a hero of his community, but that's only how he appeared. In private, he was cruel, vindictive, and insecure, and instead of letting go of his family's traditions and pursuing the innovations of the future, he was willing to risk everything to try to keep the world the same. And this was the exact opposite of who James P. Sullivan was. As the CEO of Monsters Inc., Sully wasn't concerned about competition. He wanted to support the employees of his company, power their world, and ensure that human children were no longer suffering because of monsters. He wanted more companies to adopt laugh power, and he was willing to be ridiculed by the world to share his honest point of view on the future of energy. While Sully was willing to accept change, Johnny refused it, and as a result, his worst nightmare came true. Johnny Worthington ruined his family's legacy and disgraced FearCo. And I think as the monster world becomes more reliant on laugh power, his decision to tear down his life to fight against it will just seem more and more pathetic and meaningless as time goes on. The truth is that Johnny Worthington III had everything going for him. He had talent, wealth, intelligence, and love, but in the end, he would squander all of it because he didn't believe that monsters should make children laugh. If you'd like to see more Monsters Inc. videos like this one, follow for more. And finally, I'm Isaac Carlson. Thanks for watching and have a magical day.